То у нас доєднання було. Зараз я вмикнула вже запис, да. Будемо доєднувати.
Я спробую показати мій екран, бо...
Я зараз передам вам можливість демонстрації, декілька хвилиночок. Так, дивіться, я вже віддала екран, пан Константине.
Пробую.
Скажіть, будь ласка, як ми тут зараз щодо погоди? У нас тут в Україні там і сніг був, і мінус. А що у вас там в Європі?
Теж сніг.
Мінус?
Так,
сніг?
теж сніг, теж мінус, але повинно бути вже плюс за кілька днів.
Так, я думаю, що вже буде практично, погода буде гарна, да?
Не можу пробувати зробити ще раз.
Дивіться, я вам віддала демонстрацію екрану, просто на себе її потрібно взяти та і все. Да. Ось ми бачимо вашу демонстрацію, да.
Добре.
Так, ну що, потихеньку почнемо.
Можемо зачинати.
Да, зараз ще раз ось доєднуються всі до нас. І я хотіла би анонсувати, що сьогодні ми з вами працюємо з нашим, в минулому тут був наш колега, і ще колега і зараз, дійсно, бо ви викладаєте в якому університеті, пан Константин?
Краківський університет викладаю, я не jestem w штаті tego університету.
Так, тобто вас залучають до викладання лекцій, так?
Так, долучають до викладання лекцій, тільки така співпраця поміж університетом та фірмою. Тобто така. Часами я такі речі.
А ви працюєте де?
Фірма Shell. Я зараз трохи тяжко мені вже приходить на українську мову.
Тобто ви вже по-польськи, да, розмовляєте? Да?
Так, одразу входить.
І англійською мовою. Зараз
можете на польській розмовляти тут.
Давайте, так. Тобто вже в наших головах стільки різноманітних мов, що я не знаю, в мене така також переплутаниця між англійською, французькою, українською мовою. У вас польська, англійська, да, я знаю. І так, наші студенти також є, хто виїхав за кордон, да, і також хтось в Польщі знаходиться, до речі, да?
Так, я знаходжусь в Польщі, і буває, що на парах англійської я кажу цифри на польській. І сижу, намагаюсь пам'ятати, як це буде англійською, а в голові тільки польська.
Тому я перейду на англійську.
Давайте так. І сьогодні ми з вами зустрічаємося з нашим колегом, дуже цікавою людиною, яка працює бізнес-аналітиком. Ви вже почули, в якій фірмі. І сьогоднішня лекція у нас це аналітика в сучасному бізнес-середовищі, що варто знати, якщо плануєш стати бізнес-аналітиком. Тобто вам слово, пан Константин.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll switch in English because, as I mentioned, it's quite hard for me now to marry my Ukrainian and Polish language because I have been staying and living in Poland for the last 8 or 9 years already. So it gets a little bit mixed in my mind in terms of the languages. So it's easier for me to go with English. Sorry for that. You know, let's set up, before I start, let's maybe set up a few rules. It's going to be easier for us for you to understand me as well. So I try to not to talk too fast. So for all of you to fully understand what I mean, because sometimes I tend to do that. So if I go too fast, please interrupt me. I will not feel offended by the fact that you interrupt me. I even appreciate that. So please go ahead and just unmute yourself and ask the questions. It's the first thing. The other thing is that I'll be also, when I'm going to the agenda, I'll be asking questions to you. So I hope this session is going to be interactive. So you also could help me to drive it and to make sure that it actually meets your expectations. That's what I want to do. And the other thing is that within this conversation, I will be sharing my my experience. Yeah. So which basically means that it is subjective. Inevitably, it's going to be subjective. Well, I will be explaining you how I see we call it business analytics, or we also sometimes say like data. Quite often we say data science currently, which basically means advanced analytics. Yes, so analytics using some more advanced methods, and that's why I might be giving subjective statement on something that might be something that you can find different if different person would be talking to you. But this is, please bear with me. Yeah, I'm trying to make this conversation in the way that I can share as much as I can with you guys. Hope it works for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, so in terms of agenda, I'll do a quick introduction to tell about myself, like really short. Then, as I mentioned, I'll be subjective, and from my subjective experience, most of the time I actually spent in the corporate world. So working in Shell as a big corporate corporation, and then basically I'll also tell you how it is to work in the corporate world, how it's different from small and medium business, or for instance for startup. Even though I don't have really a lot of experience working to startups, but I know people and I talk to them. I also quite often talk to guys working outside of the corporate world, so I can relate a little bit to compare these two words and tell you a few words about that. Then the most of the time I would like to spend on the item number 3 and 4. So the 3.1 is data science in practice. So what I would like to do here is to really give you several examples of the projects. So what we do, what it means to work as a data scientist in a company now, what kind of problems we try to address, what kind of projects we generally have, and also what kind of requests we receive from the business on the daily basis. I also will try to give you an kind of feeling, a bit of flavor of how generally the day of data scientists work. Yeah, so I mean, not data. If you go to some specific project, what would be your steps into delivering this project to the business? And then also I would like to talk a bit about the skills, the skill set that you would need to, or it's better for you to develop if you would like to connect your career with data science in future. And then I'll give some time for Q&A. Okay, so we have 40 minutes. Let me go. And yeah, sorry. One thing before I start. Does this agenda meet your expectation? Do you want me, because I can adjust on the fly as well. If you have something that specifically bothers you, and specifically you have questions if you think about data science, and not mentioned on this slide, let me know now, because I can adjust my presentations as well, on the fly. Does it work?
No.
Maybe we could say something when you start to say us about this presentation, and we can ask you some question about that during your presentation as well.
Okay, good. And one additional rule I think we can implement is that you can ask me questions in the different languages. Yeah, if it's easier for you to ask questions in Ukrainian language, please go ahead. I understand everything. It's just not so easy for me to speak fluently. Yeah, so that's why also it's going to be to make it maybe a bit easier for you. Short introduction about myself. As it was mentioned before, that I graduated from the university that you currently are studying at. So economic cybernetics was my discipline. And I did also PhD in this university in mathematical methods and models and information technologies and economics. And in fact, my topic of research was about the financial markets. So it was modeling the interactions between the elements of financial markets. Then also I did, so it's CIMA, it's Chartered Institute of Management Accounting. So in fact, you can say that I have financial education as well. So it's financial accounting or management accounting education. They also did authorized advisor courses on Warsaw Stock Exchange. This is about the work specifically related to the a capital market. Yeah, so it's an advisor from perspective of selling and buying the actives on the stock exchanges. And then also I did the Lane Kirkland Scholarship Program, and this is the way how I actually came to Poland. I came here to this scholarship, and then I stayed here. In terms of experience, I spent most of the time actually in Shell, and during these several years I was working in different parts of organization, different roles. So currently I'm data science manager, so I have a team of data scientists. But during my career, I was a project manager, business analyst, project analyst, and even spent some time as accountant at the beginning. It was a short time, but still I've got the understanding how accounting works in a big company. I also was working as a researcher in Warsaw Stock Exchange on some point, and also was working in the law company. And the law company, what I was doing is basically calculating or estimating the best price of shares. Like for instance, if company comes to the stock market with a new issue of shares, then basically I was calculating whether the price that company is going on the market is good enough to have good investment case for that. Yeah, just really in short. And also I was working as a lecturer, as it was mentioned as well, and entrepreneur is something that I'm still participating quite often in small startups in parallel. These are not, so it's also entrepreneurial stuff that I'm also trying to do all the time because it's something that's interesting for me. So this is short about myself, but let me go to the second point. So data science in corporate world. So what it means, if you think about the big corporation, like for instance, Shell, so what it brings to you if you come here as a data scientist, as a person who does analytics. First of all, since company is big, quite often this company has money to invest in different tools that can be used for your analysis. So cloud-based solutions, different kind of I mean, for those guys who involved into that, Azure platforms, GitHubs, Databricks, so different platforms that allowing to process big data that you can't basically do using your laptop or your local machine, because I will go to the data later, but if you can imagine, quite often you might have terabytes of the data that you need to do analysis on, and your local machine just physically can't run the model on that. But if you work in a big company, quite often you have access to the tools that actually allowing you to do that, which is, so you have things to play with. This is the good stuff, because they have money to invest into that. It costs quite a lot, this infrastructure. The other thing, of course, the data. If you have a big company, and for instance, currently I work in fleet solution team. So basically it means that we have access to all transactional data of our B2B customers. Whenever B2B customer makes transaction on the station, buys something, I see this transaction, and you can imagine how many hundreds, thousands transactions happening each hour. I can see the data, and I can, accessing this data, I can say something about customer, which is not visible straight away. And if it comes to the projects, I'll give you some examples later, so I'll talk a bit more about it. But you can say that, okay, if you join the big company, quite often you have a lot of data. It also brings issues, and I'll talk about it later, but the data is there. And then, of course, you have multicultural place, and then basically you can learn from different nationalities, you can learn from different people, you can also learn from different, so quite often we have really a lot of different data science teams, and you also can develop in the field that you want quite easily by finding people around you who can guide you, who can tell you that, okay, what to read, where to go, what can I do? And you also can change roles in itself in the company as well. So this is the kind of a good stuff that you would find here. And to put something on the other weight, on the other side, what it also has, it's of course bureaucratic environment and culture of consensus. And when I talk about culture of consensus, it's actually good and bad in itself. What it means that if some decision has to happen, in the company. For instance, I see the opportunity for some project, and I tell to my stakeholder, look, here we have some data. I truly believe we get some value out of it. This person will not take decisions straight away. Will not tell me that, yeah, please go ahead with that. He will tell me, let's meet with other 10 people and agree and get their support. Let's talk about it. Let's see if it really works. Yeah, on the other side, it's good because it brings different views. On the other side, of course, it makes the timing of whatever you want to do a bit longer, sometimes much more longer. Sometimes it takes months to agree on something, to start something at all. Yeah, because people have to be convinced into that. And then if the second point is legacy in data. So I talked to you before that you have working in the corporate world, quite often you have access to data, a lot of data. But taking into account the complexity of the structure, quite often this data is not connected between each other, data elements. You will have to spend tremendous amount of time to really understand the data structure, what it tells you at all, if you can work with it at all. And it flies from so many sources that it's also not so easy to manage it. Yeah, so this makes our work also a bit, well, not a bit, really hard from perspective of I will tell about it later as well. We spent quite a lot of time at the very beginning of each project when we try to understand, prepare data, to put it in the shape that we want, that we are able to use. And then also complex structure, it's connected with the previous point, but complex structure also means that each element of the project or each data table can have different data owners and business owners. And then but when you also try to kind of marry this data together, put everything together in some data frame that can potentially be used for you by analysis, you also need to understand how all of these segments of business work, how they use this data currently, what it means. If you see some strange behaviors in the data, is it data issue or it's something that has to be there because of the specific of the business? So structure is complex. The business is that each element has a lot of specifics that you need to learn. It's on one perspective, it's good because you start understanding the whole landscape. On the other perspective, again, it's all about the time. Yeah, you really need to invest quite a lot of time before you can do some reasonable analysis on the data that you have. So, and then a few words about, startups or small businesses. In small businesses, quite often, especially if it comes to data science startups, it comes to the point that these organizations quite often help small businesses. So quite often the startups in data science are created to help big businesses also to organize their data and to put some projects for them. So I'll not take this into account because it's consulting. This is what we do currently in company, but also have third-party companies that sometimes try to do the same. But in small business, you for sure can expect more dynamic environment. You for sure more expect that decisions on some projects can happen much more quicker, but you might not have such amount of time or such amount of opportunities to play with the data, yeah, because you have higher risks. In company here, you still have taken into account that you go through this consensus of getting into something. It also easier for you to distribute the risks. Yeah, so risks are distributed between the people, which doesn't happen in a small company. However, of course, you can drive it much more faster. So this is a really great thing of this any startups, that you can go from ideation to the delivery within several months. I can get into this. You can go into the route of making things very fast, comparing to corporate world. So these are the few elements that I would like to really highlight in terms of the corporate. Again, if you have any questions, please just interrupt me on any point of time. Feel free. But in the meantime, I'll be moving to the next slide. So, and this is something that I would like to talk a bit more about. It has this. Sorry, it's a quite busy slide because it has quite a lot of different examples. But I'll try to pick up one or two examples from which of the elements that I put here. So starting from statistics and statistical analysis. So it actually quite often happens.
But
yes?
We see the first slide of your presentation. We can see any statistical or something new.
What you see now?
Data science in practice, what do you need to know? Oh, yeah.
The
now
first
we
slide?
see the fifth slide. Oh, yeah.
Now you see?
Data science in practice, that's okay now.
Okay, but did you see this one? Or not really?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
No,
We saw the first slide.
They should have said it to me before. I was under impression that I'm going because it's already the fifth slide. Okay, and no worries. I'll share the materials afterwards, but hopefully you're able to follow whatever I was mentioning.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So now you can see data science in practice. Yeah. So the statistical forecasting.
Yeah, it's clear.
Good. So then, starting, so as I mentioned, it has quite a lot of elements, but I'll try to pick up several from each of the side of this slide. Yeah. So statistical analysis. Quite often it happens that we receive the question, something like that. I'm implementing marketing campaign. Can you tell me whether marketing campaign works or not? Yeah, I'm implementing some change to the interaction with my customer. Does a change bring any value to me? And then you have A/B testing, and maybe those of you who knows like how it goes in IT world, A/B testing is quite often the word is quite often used in statistical terms. It's hypothesis testing. So it's testing of hypothesis of differences between two groups of observations, in fact. Yes, you test whether there is significant difference between the means or other statistical characteristics of two data sets. Yeah. So in fact, what you do, you split your population of the customers in two groups. One group receives some treatment. They receive marketing campaign, they receive something else. Other group doesn't receive it, and then you calculate whether there is statistically significant difference between these two test sets. Yeah, and this actually happens. We have quite a lot of such projects. This happens quite often. It doesn't require a lot of modeling from you. It doesn't require you to create a model which will be run each day, you know, to perform some specific, to give some specific output. But it's 1 or 2 times activities that you need to do to prove that something that is going to be implemented on the market works or doesn't work. Yeah, and then descriptive statistics, data cleaning, dashboarding. Even though in my team I tried to reduce the number of dashboarding, the number of reporting done by my guys in my team, we still receive these requests quite often. Quite often, business just wants to know what happened historically. Just want to have dashboard about the statistics of the customers. Just want to have some good descriptive statistics showing them the distribution of the purchases, for instance, distribution of something else, of visiting the sites, if it comes to the oil company. Yeah. So these questions appear a lot. So it's, well, quite often if you talk about data scientists, I have people with PhDs in my team, and then for these people they say, okay, it's not really data science. However, it is analytics, which also has its own place in the work that we also perform quite often. Yeah, and it also gives quite a lot of value to the business, which is the most important. Yeah, in the end, whatever methodology you use, you bring into your work, sometimes it's better for you because it's some interesting method that you want to use, but in the end, the value which is count. Yeah, so statistical analysis takes really significant place in the thing that we do. Then about the forecasting projects. So well, demand sensitivity, so reaction of the demand in the response to the pricing change. I think it's kind of talks for itself. Yeah, it's not. I don't think I need to explain it more. Budgeting. So can we predict what would be the cost for and also the revenues for the next year, for the next quarter? Yeah, if we can do that, we can reduce the manual work which is done by doing that in the company, but also we can give some highlights to the business what is going to happen. Yeah, to predict, and this is something that we do. Churn prediction. Can you tell that customer who is currently buying something from you is going to churn? Churn, it means basically change yourself, go to competitors. That dynamics of purchases of this specific customer goes down, and it's not only the volumes, but the whole range of characteristics, how often buys, what exactly is bought, how much, when, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so all of the things, can you predict and tell to your market in advance that customer is going to leave us, that some action can be taken. Yeah. Then optical character recognition, OCR. Again, this is a lot of replication of manual work. Yeah. If you have some invoices, if you have contracts received from customers, and this contracts data has to be provided into the data set, into the system. So yeah, please create algorithm that helps you to take the PDF document, pick up specific elements of text from it, recognize it, and put it in the system. Yeah, to replace the work of human and to make human work human, to think about something more advanced from perspective of thinking, but not just performing the task. NLG, natural language generation, or NLP, natural language processing. Most likely, some of you have heard about ChatGPT. It's quite, I mean, topic is everywhere. Yeah, but in fact, what it's about chat box. So basically, your customer interaction becomes automated. It's about the making comments for some analysis. You can imagine that, for instance, like the hundreds of man hours is spent in big company on explaining something. So you have some dynamic that, for instance, your revenues has changed within the last quarter comparing to previous quarter in some amount. Yeah. And people are putting comments why it was happening, what exactly happened, what was the driver for that. So what we try to do as well, to create the machine doing these comments, to make machine doing these comments, to create the commentaries as well. Yeah, to create these insights based on the information that machine can learn from sales, for instance, behavior. Yeah, and then customer interaction analysis. So customer give their feedback to you. Because they send, okay, so I like this product, I don't like this product, or a customer is clicking. You can see that on when customer comes to your site, he's clicking on some specific article. And if you can say that this article is about decarbonization, other article is about the e-mobility, and the third article is about the future of LNG, then basically you can tell that customer is interested in some specific topic. Yeah, and then when you create the marketing campaign for this customer who was interested in LNG, you can give the offer in LNG on the later stage. Yeah, so this is understanding of the text that customer is reading or reaching out often. Yeah. Then classification problems. Yeah, so fraud detection is something that is like relevant everywhere. I mean, in our case, we also do that. It's quite relevant also for banking. Can you classify the transactions that was done using your card or some other payment method was actually fraudulent? That card was stolen, card was copied. And you can do it based on the experience of previous fraudulent transactions. So what you can do, basically, you can learn, you can teach your model to understand, to define, to determine the behavior of what it is, the fraudulent transaction, what kind of characteristics it has, and then apply it to the new transaction and say that, okay, so this is potential fraud. And then anomaly detection is something similar. A customer segmentation. Again, the classification problem is from a bit different perspective, because we can have supervised, unsupervised learning. Here I go a little bit more in technical detail, technical terms, but in fact, you can say that, okay, in the previous example about the fraud transaction, you know that you have this transaction was fraudulent, the other transactions were not fraudulent. You learn, model is actually learning how to identify this fraud when it happens next, yeah? But you also can have the whole segmentation of the customers. You don't have any label. You don't say that these customers like that and this is like that. You give the whole population of customers and ask algorithm to tell you how many groups you have. You have a cluster analysis, yeah? So most likely you've heard about it, the clustering analysis, but it's something like that, yeah? So basically you create the clusters from the population of the customers that currently you have into your database. So it's unsupervised learning. You don't know the answer. You don't look for something specific. You just try to split your audience into some specific groups. And then also the big elements of projects comes to technical researches. So let's imagine that you have asset that is producing oil. Yeah, and this asset, in fact, if you think about such big company as Shell, we are kind of the company is not really, well, in limited way cares about the price. What it means that whatever is produced is most likely will be sold. In most of the cases, everything that is produced by asset gets sold, yeah, in any price available on the market. Why? Because there is, the demand of the oil and so on and so forth. They have some fundamental economical drivers that actually make this happen. But in fact, this is how it works. So we are not price givers, we are kind of price receivers. We just get the price and we sell with this price. And which basically means that we want to sell as much as possible from each asset, because each asset costs millions of dollars. Especially if you think about deep water assets standing somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico, where on the deep water, which actually costs the hundreds of millions to put it in production. And then what you would like to avoid is something that, if something gets broken and your asset can't produce, give the resource for some period of time, you would like to avoid it, yeah? For you, it's better to do maintenance in advance than wait until something is broken, yeah? So what also is done by data science, so we read all the signals from all the characteristics coming from each asset performance, because each well, each asset has a lot of different tools installed on it that helping to monitor the performance of the asset, yeah? And all of these tools, they give information. They give hundreds of thousands of data points, even in a minute, about the function of asset. And basically, you can create the model that helps to say that, okay, and it's a bit connected to anomaly detection. It might be connected to classification problem, might be connected to forecasting projects. All the things, by the way, are interconnected between each other. But in fact, if you have a model that helps you to predict that something can be broken or in near future, that helps you to make maintenance fast and stop your asset for some period of time, that then avoid it gets broken and then you have a longer period of time when you need to wait without production. Yeah. Roads optimization. Yeah. Imagine that you have devices installed, geolocation devices installed in the cars of your customers, and you can see where they're traveling around, yeah? And looking on this map, you can say, okay, but I can help you to optimize your route. I can tell you that it's taken into account the traffic, taken into account the weather, like a lot of different elements. I can tell you what are the best roads to take right now, yeah? And this is something that also can be done using data science techniques. Optimization model helps you to optimize the distances and also the route itself. Wells optimization. Would you like to put, if you have asset and you're putting wells, which drilling wells, getting oil from the ground, how many wells you need to put into that? 3, 4, 5, 100? Of course, technical people can tell you, but if they actually Shell uses data science techniques to also optimize the number of wells, but also the location of each well. Yeah, and the big thing which is also happening it's also connected to big companies, that you have a lot of processes, like process of accounting, process of connecting to your customers. I mean, whatever. In each element of the business can be explained or shown at the process. And in fact, we also have techniques, and you might have learned already about it in your lectures, but the techniques that help you to identify the bottlenecks, help you to optimize the process, to tell you how it's better, how it should be changed to make it working faster or more efficient, or something like that, to remove some obstacles that blocking it from time to time, for instance. So, and here I would like to stop for a moment and really would like to hear your questions about it, because I can talk, well, I still have some time, but I can talk really a lot about examples and the things that we do. Anything specific on the examples that I have just brought that you would like me to elaborate on a bit more? Yeah, to go into a bit more details.
Yeah, can I ask something about customer interaction analysis?
Yes.
I have some questions and some doubts about that, because I don't clearly understand how this analysis go through the customer interaction and how we can do this.
Yeah, so let me explain you one example that we actually are approaching now in the team. So we send emails to our customers as email campaign. So for instance, we send emails that, are you interested in this? Are you interested in that? Would you like to buy some premium fuels from us? Or just, marketing campaign. We have some interaction with the customer. So we send email. And then some of our customers actually open this email, even though we have problems with tracing the open rate because of some technical stuff. However, we know that customers, if they open, they can click on some links. They can go on the Shell side, internet side. They can click on some specific topic on the site. They can browse and search and read something. And if we know what exactly this customer was interested in, what exactly this customer read, we can get information we can use this information to tell what is the next campaign or what is the area of interest for this specific customer. So basically what it means, customer opened some article about decarbonization. Yeah, so he's potentially interested in decarbonization for his company. And what we can say that, okay, maybe we can propose this customer to use our CO2 reduction techniques or propositions. So something that helps him to decarbonize. But before we send this campaign about decarbonization, what we do, we actually try to use NLG methods to tag the text. Yeah. So this text, this article is more about decarbonization because it has decarbonization word here and there. This article is about gas because it has some words. This article is about e-mobility, yeah, in some specific country, and we also can tag. And then we use NLP to tag text. So basically, you say your customer is interested in this topic based on the tag that is given by your model, and then you can give this information to your marketing team for them to act, because you assume that customer is interested in this topic. The other thing about the customer interaction is a feedback. You can have customer giving you feedback. Yeah, so we have surveys, we have different ways of getting some thoughts about the company by customer. So customer can send some, satisfaction survey can be sent, and it's done all the time. Yeah, and then when you collect all of this information, you again use NLP techniques to understand the sentiment in this word. Was this comment positive or rather negative or neutral? And then basically you can say that some customer is having troubles interacting with us or not. Yeah, and here, I mean, it's and this is the way how you also apply NLP techniques. Yeah, was it clear?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Now it's scary to say something to your company because of an NLP, and these methods and techniques of data analysis, data science.
Well, in each company or in each place, whenever you give any feedback or whenever you open any page, you always select the cookies. Or also, if it comes to marketing campaign, you also select something like, do you agree that you are going to be approached or that your data will be used for analysis? If you don't agree, then we will not be using your data. Just simply not, because whenever we do, each project that is performed goes through so-called IRM, so internal risk management. And if we have any rejection from customer perspective on the usage of customers' data, then this analysis just simply is not happening. Yeah, you just simply will not be reaching out to this customer and sending him more. So of course, it depends most likely from the company, of course. Yeah, and these things might be different. But if you constantly going with the rules that you don't want anyone to use your data and process anytime, and you mention about it in any surveys that you populate, then you can be, well, maybe not assured, because it depends on the company, as I mentioned. But in our case, you can be assured that your data will not be used, yeah, and for the analysis. So there are some ways then you can protect you if you want, yeah, from this kind of stuff. Yeah?
Yes, and it's incredible.
Anything else? Any more questions? Okay, then I'll go to the next one, and I hope, well, this thing I would like to give you. Still have some time. Try to give a really short, because the next slide will be more, I think, important for you. So in practice, how it works, if you imagine yourself as a part of data science team, so how it works, you have your business, or sometimes it's just yourself. When you ask a question, or you have a hypothesis about something, and the question, for instance, can you tell me that where the transaction is fraudulent, and can you tell me that customer will be interested in some analysis? And hypothesis here would be that taking into account this and that data, I can tell that customer, I can potentially make assumption about customer preferences. This would be the hypothesis that it comes at the beginning in the question elements, like here. And then you go data preparation. So taking into account the question, you collect all the data that you have about it, you structure it in a way that can be usable for your analysis, you put it in a specific frame, you also use the tools that I mentioned to store it, to actually optimize it, and you do your data exploration. If it comes to data exploration, you use some statistical techniques. You look on the distribution, you look on the outliers, you look on the correlations between the data elements, you look on some clustering analysis you can run quickly to see if there are some groups of some specific elements in the population. And you ask, and then you see whether your hypothesis, whether you have sufficient data at all to answer the question. Yeah, if at all, it's enough for you. And then basically this element, this data exploration area, takes 70-ish, higher than 70% of our time. Because when we do exploration, we come back to questions. Are you sure that you want to ask it like that? Let's give you example. Let's take example of churn prediction. Business comes to us and says, can you predict that customer is going to churn, going to leave us? Well, okay, let's have a look on the data. So we take data about all the transactions, behavior, everything that we have, put it together, do a data exploration, see that, okay, we potentially have some different groups of the customers that behave differently, but then we come back and say, but can you please tell me what exactly you're looking for? What churn customer means for you? Is it customer who reduces the production? If yes, how much? If customer who buy less products, or it's all together, if customer reduces or ends, if customers that actually goes outside of us, this is your churning. So we actually coming back to again the questions from the very beginning. Yeah, we are coming to the very beginning. We're trying to ask again. Now we looked on the data and we see that in fact you can have 20 different definitions for the churning customers. Which one would you like to select? And then they give us, okay, let's treat the customer who goes down in volumes, in purchases in 70%. This is my churning customer. Again, data preparation, looking at 70%, specifically checking this specific group, giving the labels, going to data exploration and looking, you know what happens? Quite often the customer goes down 70%, afterwards going back again. It might be seasonality that we see in the data. Are you sure that 70% not an 80? And maybe it's not only about the volume, but we also need to have a look on the number of products that they buy from. And this happens again and again and again. So we actually, this circle is running several times. And then in the end, when we say when we create specifically mathematically explained rule for our kind of churning customer, when we understand all the outliers, when we have some way to clean our data and it's cleaned and it's ready, then we go to modeling and hypothesis testing. And then it takes us, to create the model, to run it, to train it, to make the whole technical validations and so on. And then we're presenting the results. And by the way, presentation of results is actually a separate skill. Let me jump into that. Key skills. Let me tell about my own experience. What I am lacking and was lacking after completing my studies were technical skills in coding. I'm all the time learning. I'm learning Python and other languages, because quite often, if you do this analytics, you need to be able to run the code, to write the code and write the right code and create in a way that can be used. And it's not so easy if you don't have it. And that's why I'm highlighting it right now. If you think about this career for future, this is the time when it's better for you to start learning coding, learning GitHub, Power BI, Azure, and other stuff which is available on the market. But the coding is really core element of it. SQL, Python, R languages is something that's must have if you come to this role. You need to think about it that you won't have any tools like Statistica, MATLAB, Evuse. Nothing like that is going to be used in the company on the current stage. On the current stage, you need to write the algorithm. Yes, you have a lot of libraries. If you think about the Python, you have a lot of libraries that kind of pre-created for you. You can just take them into account and use them. It makes it easier. You don't need to write in code any calculation thing that you do. But Python is something that you need to learn. You need to understand how the libraries work and so on. Data science skills. This is something that's connected to previous slide. Yeah, statistical analysis, time series forecasting, and here I mentioned the things that are used most often. Yeah, I would say in the work. Classification techniques, we'll have a lot of them. Supervised and unsupervised learning, I mentioned. NLP, NLG, OCR, I also mentioned. Anomaly detection, these techniques you also have. Process optimization, then you also have forecasting. So if it comes to forecasting, you think about decomposition of the time series, and then also, of course, different kinds of regression models. Yeah, whatever the huge range that you have most likely learned already so far. Actually, I'm not sure on what year of studies you are in. So this question I should have asked before, actually. But anyways, so these are the elements from the data science skills that you need to learn. However, I also have people joining my team. I getting them to the job. I'm accepting them to work who has less experience in data science skills, but for instance has good coding skills. Yeah. So quite often I go into that because I know that people it takes more time to learn the code than to learn the algorithms. And people also doing work, they can get into the data science, into the mathematical stuff as well. However, of course, combination makes it best. Yeah. And soft skills, something that goes with experience quite often. So project management, data storytelling, presentation, negotiation, stakeholder management can't go just straight away from university. Yeah, you need to learn that. But even being in university, you can practice your presentation. You can practice your project management while you are doing your own work, preparing your thesis or something. You can plan your work. You can try to read about agile, waterfall, scrum mastering techniques, which are used for project management, because this will be beneficial for you to learn it, to know that. And data storytelling, it's quite hard. I'm really struggling with that with people. Quite often, I myself not really able to explain some things to business for them to really buy it like straight away. It's really hard quite often to explain them why I need to have specific definition of churning customer. Why I just can't go and find some customer who is churning, who needs to explain more. It's already enough. So these things, we also have courses about it. And then I'm also mentioning resources here, which I would like to mention. So data science communities and competitors. It's really a lot of this stuff is currently in web. Kaggle, one of the example, when you can go and you participate in competition, try to learn to write your code, trying to read about it and try to get used to that. Then you have a lot of courses. In my team, quite a lot of people, they take Udacity. I don't want to make an advertisement for that. Again, it's my own experience, the things that I was looking at. Yeah, so don't treat it as advertising activity now. But this is the courses or books, for instance, books or really media. So this is the publisher that I like their books. Yeah. And conferences. I personally try to participate in OD, Open Data Science Conference. Yeah, because I think it's good to participate. I read Medium platforms because sometimes they have good articles in data science that they're published. But to tell you the thing that in this field, I think it actually goes to any field. You need to learn all the time. In my team, I setting the target for my people that they have to spend at least, now we have 90 hours per year on learning, because I'm setting it just as the target that I need to do. But I know that most of them, and me including, we do more than 90 hours per year, for sure. In the courses, books, conferences, and different things that we do in terms of the learning. So it's really key to continuously upgrade yourself, because things are changing so fast. You just can't stay in the same mode. So in fact, yeah, now we have Q&A. We don't have a lot of, sorry for that. Yeah, this is what I was afraid. So we are running out of time a little bit. Any specific questions that you would like to ask me now, you can do that if you still have time, because I have still time. I can stay with you. Additional 10 minutes at least for sure. On top of that, you can always find me on LinkedIn. Yeah, so you can also send me your questions directly. It's not a problem for me. I will answer. So just the name as you see here, Kostyan Tindmers, is quite complicated, but still, you can note it down and find me in LinkedIn and send me the questions and be a friend with me there. And it's not a problem. I will answer. But anything that you would like to ask straight away, yeah. So anything that requires any. Did it meet your expectations in general? Did you expect that what I was presenting from this session?
Я хотіла би зараз, поки є пауза, сказати для всіх наших студентів, то працює чат. Якщо зручно, то ви можете записувати запитання до пана Константина в чаті, чи задавати питання українською мовою, і пан Константин це розуміє і може відповідати англійською мовою. Тобто не переймайтеся, якщо хтось там не може запитати англійською мовою. Якщо є запитання, то задавайте. Дякую.
Okay, I have one question about maybe not data science and all, but knowledge of data science. Yeah, because I'm on the I'm on the second course of our program, and I want to ask you about maybe methodologies or sites for improving my skills in data science and business analyst, and what you will recommend to us to search or looking for about these topics.
Yeah, this is exactly what I had on the last. Let me share it again. On the last, you can see this slide, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Or it was?
Yeah, now yeah.
It was visible or not?
We have some problems with that, and now we can see that. Yeah.
But
you didn't see it before.
Change.
You didn't see it before.
Didn't see.
Oh my God! Again. Okay. Yeah. Sorry for that.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'll send it to you afterwards. But still, let me just quickly come back to that. So, as I said, technical skills. Yeah. So coding skills, Python, SQL, R languages, something that it's must have. You can't go without it. Even though we have more and more platforms, like for instance, Azure ML, where they try to create in a way that you don't code things a lot, but you rather like drag and drop some elements and you use like pre-coded things for you. But each person in my team has to be able to code, and not only be able to code, but also know the code best practices. So it is time for you now to look into that if you want to go into this route, yeah, into this career, to start coding now. How you can do that? Courses. You have Udacity, Coursera. You even have some courses on LinkedIn. But once you do that, you need to practice. Otherwise, it doesn't go into the kind of in the blood. Yeah. But when you can practice, you join the data science communities, like for instance, Kaggle, community that you can join to basically what they do. They set up a competitions. They say, okay, this is a data set. Please, let's all of us try to do some analytics on that. If someone does it first or in the best way, you can have some prize. But prize is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is the practice. Yeah, you can start participating into these communities. It's about the coding. Yeah. Then, as I call, data science skills. So data science skills is again coming back to the projects I mentioned: statistical analysis, hypothesis testing, even descriptive statistics, outliers detection, regressions, correlations, time series forecasting. Again, come back to regression, but also time series decomposition, time series forecasting, trend forecasting, seasonal component, all of this stuff. Then you have classification techniques. In classification techniques, you have supervised and supervised learning. You think about random forest algorithms, XGBoost. Well, you have clustering, k-means. I mean, a lot of methodologies. You can put neural networks as well. Yeah, these things you can put into the basket of classification techniques that are used. NLP, NLG, OCR. That's what I mentioned. Also quite popular. Anomaly detection, process optimization, and general optimization models. Yeah, it's a separate set of the models, optimization model, that you can also learn, and they're also used in work. If it comes to soft skills, again, you can look on courses about that, but you also can think to make accent on that even when you do your studies. Yeah, in the university, presentation skills is something that is used everywhere. As for instance, I talk to you now. Yeah, I'm as a manager spending 90% of my time presenting something. But even like data scientists who sit in the code and creating the models and working more quietly, I would say, from time to time need to present the results of their work. And the way how they do that will drive the next project, if they get the next project at all or not, yeah. And if it comes to production anyhow, yeah. So this is something that is needed, is must have. Negotiation, stakeholder management, it comes with practice, but the data storytelling and project management, I would say, that's something that you can learn. You can already start reading about it. And also, I'm saying about books here, O'Reilly, media publisher. I read this book, and again, mentioning it again just to make sure, I'm not making the advertisement here about any of courses, any specific books, but it's rather coming from my experience, something that I use and read and learn, and like, you know, the Medium platform is something that platform when I read articles quite often from, and then, you know, the ODSC, Open Data Science conference that I'm participating on the yearly basis. So these things, they make difference, and they also it's good for you to look on it if you want to go into this career path.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Maybe someone has a question. I know in the chat we have question. For example, have you received any certification as a business analyst, such as IBM?
What certification? Once
certification as a business analyst, such as IBM.
IBM? Okay, I see that. No, I haven't got something like that. What I was doing certification in CIMA, so Chartered Institute of Management Accounting, but it was rather for specifically for financial knowledge, because quite a lot of projects that we do in financial space as well. So I wanted to learn it, but I even, to be honest, well, in my team, I don't have anyone who did business analyst specific certifications, but rather technical. I mean, I have people working in in Stern in this Android Collider, this place in Switzerland. They're coming to the team. So people who has more not business analysts but technical skills like physics, yeah. So these guys are coming to my team, and also developers of developers who know coding good sometimes also come. I have few, even though it takes time for them to get into the statistical and mathematical methods, right? But still, so yeah, this is in short. But let me read other questions. How often does BA work with structured or structured information, and what program products can you use for it? Okay, so quite often we have also the bit of beauty of working in the big company that quite often you have someone from IT who also helps you to make your data structured. However, quite often we work with unstructured data. We also need to spend some time on the data exploration phase to really structure it properly, to unbias it, to clean it. And platform we use, again, as a Shell has contract with Microsoft. That's why we use a lot of Azure, Databricks, or platforms which are actually given by Microsoft, which are quite good. But in general, cloud-based solution. I mean, in fact, Azure-based platforms used most often by big companies, I would say. It works. So, but there are some competitors, but we don't really work for them as of now, at least.
Thank you.
Can you show the 7th slide? I can't see that. Oh my God. Yeah, this again coming to the thing. What was the 7th slide? 7th slide. I was discussing. Okay, I was showing it.
Dear students, any questions more? No? No.
Can you tell about time of spending on one project?
Well, in fact, we're planning to have, I mean, for our, if it comes to the plan that we have, according to our standard process, we should not be spending more than half a year on one project. However, I have some examples when we spent 1.5 years on one of the projects. because it was too complex. However, if it happens like that, then it means that we create several iterations. We do so-called proof of concept, then we do minimum viable product, and then we do project. So we still do several iterations. In average, it takes around half a year to complete one project, including the whole data preparation, which takes most of time, data exploration.
Appreciate it.
Any questions? No?
Tips to explore in domain area. So you mean domain in data science, yeah? So the main tips that I mentioned, read, participate into, I mean, the Kaggle is a good place for you to start. Participating in the competitions of coding competitions and data science competitions available on web. Participating in conferences, learning as I say, coding. For me, it was really hard to get into that, especially taking into account that I was already on the positions that I was not entering company. I was already on some role like managing, for instance, and then it was hard for me to marry the things, to learn coding and to run the team. But now you can do that. You have all the time that you can invest into coding practices. I think this would be something that is main tip from my perspective when I think about myself.
Thank you. Someone? Any questions? No? Or yes? Okay. In general, we know that a modern way solve various problems and use various tools, means of visualization, analysis and modeling of process in their activities. In your opinion, which part is more important now? Visualization, analysis, modeling, or maybe combination?
Well, let me answer that way. I mean, yes, it is combination. However, taking into account that most of the time, as I said, around 70% of the time is done doing data exploration. I would say that this is something that requires most of attention, because if you think about starting your career, for instance, in data science, in most of the cases, when I get new people in my team, I don't put them into some projects that I need to create the algorithm or already run the project. Yeah, I put them to support some ongoing project. And quite often they start from exploration activity. They start looking on the data, cleaning the data, understanding the outliers, understanding the underlying dependencies in the data set, doing some clustering analysis, doing some anomaly outliers detection, these kind of things. Sometimes in descriptive statistics help. So this exploration part takes a lot of time. And this is something that you can, on the current stage, focus, because this can help you to enroll, to step into. And then while you're participating in some projects and working with other experts, you can learn the modeling more. You can go into it. Of course, it's good if you have a general understanding how the thing's working, especially if you understand the mathematics behind. It's not something that happens all the time. Quite often people don't understand. But this exploration part, I would say, takes priority, especially for those people who would like to start the career into this area. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Any questions?
You have all time worked in office, or you working in home sometimes?
Well, people, we have some recommendations from top for 20% of time spent in the office. However, to be honest with you, I don't care how much time my people spend in the office. I mean, if I want to meet them and we have some brainstorming session, I ask them to come. Yeah, but it's the last thing that I'm going to be doing. looking when they work from home or from office, if we don't have anything planned. If we have someone coming, some guests are coming to the office, whatever, then of course I want them to come. But in fact, most of the time they spend at home, because this pandemic situation proved that, especially for people who write the code, sometimes they just need to be in quiet place, to sit 8 hours without any interruption, to make sure that they do their work properly. So, well, on the current stage, I'm in the office maybe once in 2 weeks or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Okay. Dear student, any questions? No? Thank you. Thank you very much, dear Konstantin, for your kind attitude for us, for your very, very interesting lecture, for sharing your work experience, and I'm sure it's very interesting for our students. Thank you very much once more. Okay.
Always happy to do more if you need. As I said, you can reach out to me as well via LinkedIn. I mean students, yeah, with the questions. Well, I might not be answering straight away, but I'll effectively answer at some point. So.
Yes. Дорогі наші студенти, ми з вами закінчуємо сьогоднішню зустріч. І якщо це можливо, шановний пан Константин, може ви напишете у чат свій контакт, і може зараз сьогодні деякі студенти, може, захотіли би запитати щось, але чомусь не запитали, може щось запитають ще. Да, дякую вам. І всім дякую за сьогоднішню присутність. І я думаю, що ми такі зустрічі будемо проводити регулярно тепер, да? І ми, я думаю, що дуже-дуже зацікавлені в тому, щоб дійсно прийняти досвід наших шановних фахівців, які працюють зараз в реальному бізнесі, як дата-сайентисти, як бізнес-аналісти, для того, щоб побачити, наскільки наше навчання співпадає з запитами ринку праці. Да? Дякую ще раз за вашу лекцію цікаву, і всім тоді наснаги і до побачення, до наступних зустрічей.
Дякуємо.
Дякуємо, щиро дякуємо.
До побачення.
Дякуємо.
До побачення.